Well, let's take a look at the story further. I'm joined by Mduduzi Vilakazi, the acting CEO of Mpumalanga Tourism and Parks Agency. Good evening, Mr. Vilakazi. Thanks for your time. Interesting that the minister today is talking about a coordinated effort to fight crime in this area when we know that there have been a string of criminal activities taking place there that have been reported, and there has long again been a coordinated effort coming especially from the private sector to try and fight crime.
Thank you very much, and thank you to your listeners. We are fighting crime. The government effort is there to fight crime. The resources may not be adequate, but the efforts are there to fight crime. You are correct to say that we are working with the private sector to fight crime. They are also affected if anything happens. Tourism is industry run and government coordinated. So therefore, directly, the private sector get hurt when the tourists are not coming and when they don't have any particular transactions there to transact in their tourism businesses. So we have the private security guards who have put in the cameras around the area. We also have removed many speed humps that were in that street. But short to say, crime is crime. It does not tell you that you are going to do it now. So the criminals will hide and attack at the time they think that it is opportune for them to succeed. Unfortunately, this one had to have a fatality, and the efforts that we have put in place should be strengthened to ensure that this does not recur.
One of the things that has come out is that the Numbi gate of the Kruger National Park needs to be closed, at least until there is a clearer way of reducing the crime that is particularly taking place on that stretch of road. Is that something that is up for consideration currently?
No, it will not be for consideration. Solely to say that if we do that, it means that our effort to fight crime will be avoidance of business. We cannot avoid business by not fighting crime. Ours is to fight crime and ensure that business still continues. One of the proposals made by the communities is to open stalls along that road to ensure that that road becomes busy and the community benefits from the tourists that are getting in and out of Numbi Gate. That is in consideration, but the closure of the gate is not in any way in consideration.
But then what happens in the interim? Because one of the other issues that has been raised is that there is very poor signage on that road. There are no clear warnings, especially to tourists, about the criminality in the area, which is why you find so many of them falling prey to these criminals. So, there has to be something, some intervention put in place in the interim so that these tourists that you're inviting to come to the province can still be offered some level of protection.
Of course, it's a matter that we have raised with various municipalities around the issue of proper signages to tourism destinations. Is a matter that municipalities have acceded to, and all signages are currently in preparation, and they will be put up in no time. We have the police on our side, and visible policing have been strengthened since the incident. There has been visible policing, but there was a matter of resources that the nearby police station did not have adequate resources. Now that the minister also went there today, there are measures that police have put in place to strengthen safety and security along that road.
Is this not part of the problem, though, that when an incident like this has taken place, there's a lot of reaction, including the police being very reactionary in their responses. History tells us that intervention will only last so long before things go back to what they were before. And ultimately, it's the tourists here that continue then to be vulnerable.
I agree that probably some of the measures become interim measures, but this is a measure that we have agreed that it will be a measure that is taking place up until the new financial year happens, where real resources are allocated to tourism destinations. It's a matter that we as the tourism sector cannot speak about, but I think the police will be clearer to speak about. I'm speaking about the interim measures that you have asked about, which one of the interim measures is to work with the police to ensure that we strengthen safety in the area. It's also not true that Numbi is extremely notorious. I know that we have been hearing about Numbi being notorious. There are 2 cases in 12 months that have been reported in Numbi. Our effort to take the matter at Numbi serious is on the basis that we don't want it to happen to any other tourist or citizen. And when we speak about tourists, we are not only speaking about international tourists, we are also speaking about domestic tourists that were attacked before. So we strengthened the measures on the basis of domestic tourists, and now we are further strengthening the measures to ensure that this does not recur.
Ultimately, it gives South Africa and the potential for tourism there a very bad name. What are you going to be doing from the provincial point of view to ensure that, number one, tourist agencies are better inform some of their clients and potential visitors to your province about some of the dangers that may be lurking, especially then when trying to head to the Kruger National Park?
One of the strategies that we are going to employ is to ensure that all car hire companies will be distributing to any person who's hiring a car safety tips. We are also going to ensure that all airlines have safety tips that are going to deal with the matter. We had a meeting with Lufthansa as well as the airport about the arrival of the first flight from Germany to Mpumalanga on the 16th of November. And we are hoping that at that time, with the campaigns that we are having, as well as the communication that we are having with the embassy of Germany, we are going to ensure that we allay the fears. Mpumalanga remains still calm, although there is this particular incident. Mpumalanga remains peaceful. We are receiving plus minus 169,000 German tourists in South Africa each year, or in Mpumalanga each year. And of those tourists, we only have this particular case that we can speak about. So as a result of that, we think that we should not alarm the matter as if it's a matter that is an attack on all domestic or foreign tourists. Is an isolated incident that that is giving us courage to put in measures to ensure safety of all tourists in the province. And we are still inviting tourists to visit Mpumalanga.
All right, Mduduzi Vilakazi, Acting CEO, Mpumalanga Tourism and Parks Agency.